Last time you left us with some beautiful sunsets, but not so great news.
The discovery is exactly what we did not want.
The rotted floorboards. Boat projects don't divide, they multiply, but that's exactly what you sign up for when you live boat life. This week we are tackling some much needed projects, so join us.
Officially,
This is our baby.
we left the ordinary to chase a wild little dream on the water. Some days are chaos and some are absolutely magical. But every moment of it is our own. We're raising tiny humans, building a floating home, and figuring it all out as we go. People think we're crazy, but this is our life of freedom, and it's just the beginning.
I know thus far boat life has seemed like so much fun and just like ripping up floors and doing all this destruction, but we had to get some real life boat jobs done, which were replacing the seacocks, or not replacing them, but ripping out the seacocks to inspect them and also inspect the through holes on the boat. If you've never heard of a seacock before, it's basically a valve that keeps the ocean outside of the boat. Picture a little gate that opens up and closes to let water in for the sink, head, or the engine, and then hopefully closes tight to keep the water out. The problem is that these things get old, and our boat is in 1981. So they corrode, they seize up, and worst case, they fail. And when they fail, you get water where you definitely don't want it. Our seacocks looked pretty good, but we decided to pull them out to fully inspect them, and that's exactly where the fun begins. And by fun, I mean we were doing boat yoga, because here's the thing, boats look small, but the second you try to actually work in them, they somehow shrink by 50%. Because these things haven't been taken out in years, it took quite a bit of effort to get all of the hardware loosened and actually remove the seacocks and all of the hoses. The best part about this entire project is that we actually had no idea where any of the seacocks or through holes were, so we had to go in all the little crevices of the boat to try to figure out where exactly they were located and make sure that we had them all. To our surprise, mostly everything looked pretty good. The hoses were definitely replacing just because they're pretty old and we want to have new hoses and new equipment on that front. The seacocks look pretty good, and we're not sure that we'll have to replace any of them, but we're definitely going to get someone else to take a second look to make sure that they're good. Once the seacocks were out, we had to deal with the through holes, and those are basically holes in the boat on purpose. They're how water comes in for things like sinks and how it drains back out. It sounds harmless enough until you realize that if one of these fails, it's basically like drilling a hole in your boat and inviting the ocean inside. So yeah, we wanted to make sure those were solid. We plugged them up one by one, checked the fittings, looked for corrosion, and tried not to think about how much trust you put into these little pieces of hardware when you're offshore. Our biggest reason for replacing the hoses and replacing things that look just mildly questionable is because we have our kids aboard and we're definitely not going to cut corners. In any case scenario, while we're under the sink, does anyone know of any good water filtration systems to install? We really want a saltwater to freshwater maker, but we're not 100% sure what would actually work. So if you know, leave it in the comments. Now, if you think we're crazy after listening to this one, just wait until you hear the next one. We don't even know if the engine of the boat works. And if you're familiar with boats, you know the cost of replacing an engine is significant. So next up on our list is checking the engine. But the only hiccup that we have is that we are not on the water and we don't have access to any running water where we are currently. So we can't turn the engine on and see if it actually runs until we transport her and and then have someone come to check out the engine. For these next clips, keep in mind we are not mechanics, we are learning things as we go, and any advice is greatly appreciated. So if you have anything to add or anything that we should check in the comments, definitely leave it below.
We gotta remove the hoses in there. Let's see. This is, I'm assuming, this leads to the engine for cooling the engine. So, but I'm gonna assume it goes here. I would assume that goes there. Let me know if I'm wrong, but this leads goes in. Now, this is how the engine looks. I'm no mechanic, but new belt, I'm assuming. Just give you a quick look at everything. Unknown if this works, if it doesn't. I'm really hoping and praying that this does work. Well, oh, I'm sorry, nope. So I just found out where that goes. Right in through here. Right, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, obviously, because that's for a screw. Like I said, no mechanic here, but I'll be showing you guys this stuff. We'll go around here to the quarter berth so you can see. What do we got there? It's a patch-up job. Or it looks like. Take some of that out. See what that is. Anyways, the task at hand. And it hasn't been run, so, but see if you can see that there. Looks pretty clear to me, which I would assume is a good sign. The engine's not running, so see if you guys can see that. We're gonna get the oil checked. Or the engine checked. later on. I wish we could do it now, but I need to connect it to water. Okay.
Here's what we were doing while my husband was working on the engine. We like to divide and conquer with toddlers because that's honestly the best way to get anything done. So while one person is working on the boat, the other person is usually outside of the boat doing things with the kids, or we like go on a walk or go to the playground. And now we're back to the party.
That's what I'm doing. So these bumpers, so I'm gonna have to remove this one first.
We had tried to get all of the flooring out the previous time that we visited the boat, because as you know, it is 4 hours away, so we do like trips once a week or sometimes twice a week. But I could not remove this portion of the flooring, and by the time my husband was like ready to get on the boat, the kids were like absolutely losing it, so we had to leave. So in order to prep for our next trip to the boat, he removed this portion of the flooring, which made it so much easier to get the rest of the flooring out when we went back to the boat. And just in case you forgot, here's the backstory. There was water that got into the boat prior to us owning the boat, and it completely rotted the flooring. So we had to rip up the flooring and just make sure that everything underneath was okay, in order to prepare for replacing the floors. So that's exactly what we did. And if you missed last week's video, definitely check back because there were some surprises that we found that we definitely did not expect. So that pretty much sums up our day. We pulled out the seacocks, inspected the through holes, checked on the engine, and ripped up the floor. Not super glamorous, not fast, and definitely not easy, but this is what project boat life looks like. It's not perfect, it's not highlight reel, it's the sweaty steps that make it possible. Because at the end of the day, every hour we spend moving around in tight spaces is how an hour we're investing into future sunsets, anchorages, and adventures with our family of four. Thanks for watching and stick around because next time we'll be tackling some more flooring and those crazy vinyl ceilings. Oh, and we finally have the right camera angle, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications to tune in next week. See ya!